Welcome to this complete guide to understanding the DoorDash Dasher driver app. My name is Mike, and since 2015, I've been working in this gig economy, not only as a side hustle, but I've done it as a full-time hustle as well. Most every single major app and niche out there, thousands and thousands of trips and transactions, of course, including DoorDash. And you're gonna wanna watch this whole video. There's notes in the description to help you navigate this video, but I wanna go over so you can understand here what these screens mean, but also important strategies that's going to help you earn more. So here's the first thing in our Dasher app once we open the home screen. And there's a lot going on here, so let me break this down for you. What we're looking at here, and again, some strategy. So you can see all these gray shapes in our marketplace. What exactly is this? So you can see here, I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. These are different segments of your marketplace. So unlike other apps, I can't just go online and drive anywhere. Really, they want us to stay in a certain segment of my marketplace. So we can see that if I just click up here, it's downtown Pittsburgh. If I click on another one, Robinson, Kennedy Township. If I click on another segment, Mount Lebanon, Green Tree. So again, here in Pittsburgh, it's broken into different segments. So why is this kind of on the outside gray, right? Versus this segment has kind of a red hue to it. So you can see here, let's just click on this red segment in the downtown Pittsburgh marketplace. It says Dash Now. So based on the time of day, just how busy it is in your marketplace, you'll see different segments turn gray, they'll turn red, and that's indicating if it's busy enough to go online immediately. So these tiers are just gonna let us know how busy is it. If it's 1 tier, 2 tiers, or 3 tiers, we can see it's very busy. Now remember, this is red. Now if I'm in a segment that's red, I can go online immediately using this Dash Now button at the bottom. So again, as long as you're in a red segment of the marketplace, you can click Dash Now. You can select the time you want to dash until. Now don't worry, if I click on it and let's say it's 5 p.m. and I'm thinking I want to go until 7, if you want to end earlier, you can certainly do that. You're not going to be penalized or anything. You're just going to go into the menu and select End Dash if you do want to end early. Now you'll also see here, it says $3. So it says very busy, $3. So this is the peak pay. This is bonus pay. This is good for you as a driver. You want peak pay. In my opinion, peak pay is really what's going to allow you to make the bigger earnings that you really want here. Now you'll notice if I zoom in, there's kind of an arrow, and don't worry about that. And I know it looks like, okay, where is this peak pay? It's in the entire market segment. So this entire red segment here has that $3 peak pay. If I, let's say, went over to this market segment, if this was red and there's peak pay, again, that entire market segment. So as long as you're in a market segment and there's peak pay, and there's different places to see that, as far as your promo tab up here as well, again, entire market segment has it. Now let's go to one of the gray segments here. If I just click on this, it says schedule. So this segment of the marketplace, and you'll see this in your market, it's not red, which means I cannot go online immediately. The only thing I can do is look at what scheduled times are available. So we can see here, what does DoorDash have available to schedule? And I can change this. I can change this time if I can only drive for a certain amount of time. If you are scheduled from one of these marketplaces, let's say again, 5 p.m. and it's 4:50, I'm getting ready, but it's gray and I'm thinking, well, can I drive? You can drive if you're scheduled, but if you're not scheduled, again, if I click on it, I can't dash now. So remember that bonus pay, the peak pay that we talked about in those tier levels now drop down to busy. And we can see that by only 2 tiers of the 3 are lit up here. Now it still has that peak pay of $3. Don't worry about that. Peak pay is going to last typically for a set amount of time. We'll see that in the promo tab, but just kind of keep an eye on that, on how busy it really is. So now let's look at some of the icons on the top of the Dasher app. Let's start from the top left and then move our way over to the right. So if we click on this bell icon, this is the updates tab. Now, personally, I've never seen a ton in here, but just so you know, and if we click on that next icon next to it, that's the message tab. It's very similar. I've never seen a ton in there, but if there's any announcements about your accounts, etc., that's your message tab. Now this next tab, the promo tab, is very important. I want you checking this every day. Again, the promos is really what's going to allow you to make the big money that you really want. So here's all the scheduled peak pay in your marketplace. Now what's really good about this, again, we talked about the whole market segment having that peak pay, is This is predictable. It is scheduled peak pay. And DoorDash is doing this based on their analytics of your marketplace. So they'll know, okay, well, this morning shift, if I just click on this here, for this market segment, because it is going to vary by market segments, I get an extra $1 from 5:30 a.m. until 7:29 a.m. Now let's click on this one. For South Pittsburgh, it's $3 from 9:30 a.m. until 11:29 a.m. And that is not going to change. It's never going to go down. And that's something that's really nice for you to rely on. And I'll just tell you, as someone who's done DoorDash, a $3 peak pay, that's per delivery. So you get an extra $3 on every single delivery that you do. That is very good. And I would look for peak pay of $2 plus if it's applicable in your market. That is going to vary by market, so keep that in mind. And then also the frequency of peak pay is going to vary. So let's look again here. I see $1, I see $1.50, it's going to vary. Now this South Pittsburgh segment, we can see a few more selections here. $2.50, again, $3. You really need to think about, okay, again, let's click on the $3 here. So you need to understand, you'll know this over the shifts, but this South Pittsburgh, actually, let's go back to our market segment. And it's this market segment right here. Right here is South Pittsburgh. It's gray, right? So this segment is going to have that $3 peak pay from the, 9:30 until 11:29 a.m. on Friday. And you need to understand, well, how big is this market segment? Like literally, how much ground does it cover? How busy is it in this segment? Is it rural? Is it more metro? Are there a lot of customers, or are they more spread out? Are there what we call power strips? That's what we call areas that are really dense with restaurants. Now, why would that matter? Because if I'm staging, which means waiting, and that's what I want you to do, park, sit, and wait for an order. I don't want you driving around trying to find an order. It's just empty miles, wasted miles on your vehicle. If you can stage in a power strip, hopefully there's customers nearby. So you can minimize the miles on your vehicle. So I can drive from this restaurant A to the customer, and I'm still finishing in one of those power strips. I don't have to really commute anywhere, and I'm not pulled far away. Keep that in mind as well. When you do get orders, you do not want to get pulled away 10 or 15 minutes from these power strips. Going back to this South Pittsburgh example, let's click on the promos tab again, and we'll go to South Pittsburgh. So if this was the promo I'm looking at, $3, well, Mike said $3 is really good, and it is. But I don't want you to waste your time driving in a really empty, spread out, rural area of your marketplace if it's not busy. And it might be busy. You need to understand your marketplace. Actually, definitely subscribe if you haven't subscribed. We go over this a little bit deeper. We also have a course, Mastering Delivery, which is a 1-hour power course on yourdrivermike.com if you'd like to check that out. But 9:30 until 11:29 a.m. This is what? On a Friday? This is on a Friday. So I need to understand, okay, for typically on Fridays, I would say Thursdays through Sundays are your predictable busier days with most gig apps, frankly. I mean, it can be food delivery, but most gig apps, Thursday until Sunday are typically your busiest days. But again, this market segment specifically, is it busy? And I'll just tell you, here in Pittsburgh, just look at the actual size of this segment of the marketplace. It's more spread out. Customers are going to be much more spread out. It's more rural, more suburban. There's not as many densely clustered power strips as this area, the downtown Pittsburgh or the central Pittsburgh area. Again, at least for my marketplace. I know there's tons of restaurants right here by the universities. I know there's a ton of restaurants right here on a popular stretch of road here with a lot of shopping area. I know, over here in my Lawrenceville area, there's a ton of restaurants, as you can see here. You'll know these power strips, and it really, really pays off to understand these power strips versus, again, this other segment of the marketplace. And I wanted to spend more time on this promos tab because this is really where you're going to live. I mean, this is really what you're looking for as far as promos. Hopefully every day, and hopefully $2 plus. Again, I'd say. Now, what you want to do is look at the top here. Let's do that. Look at the top. There's a filter icon next to that question mark. Click on that filter icon and go through this. I would do it right now, frankly, because what we've done here is deselected areas that are way out of my marketplace. So let's take a look here. Grove City. Can you see that? I'll just click on it to highlight it right there. Grove City. Okay. I'm going to leave it unselected, but where is Grove City? Okay, Grove City, it's even more north. Oh, it's even more north. It's even more north. See, it was even more north than I thought. It's way up here. There's Grove City here in Pennsylvania. So I'm all the way down here. It's about an hour away in my marketplace. So just to make things a lot easier on you, I want you to do this like right now. Go in there and just deselect areas where you're never going to drive. It's way too far away. Can we find another one here? Morgantown, West Virginia. You see that there? I'm clicking on it. So I'm in Pittsburgh, right? Morgantown is all the way down here. Now, here's a good example, but there's $3 surge pay. What if there's $4 surge pay? What if it's like crazy and there's $5 surge pay? Well, should I drive from Pittsburgh to Morgantown? Or I'll even make it even closer. Should I drive down here? What is this? Charleroi, Monongahela. Should I drive from my current zone, City Central, down to this Monongahela for, let's say, $3 to $5 peak pay, which is really good. Remember, I told you I want you to have at least $2 peak pay. I would say no, okay? Unless you're going to go down there for something anyway. I would only commute, I did DoorDash in San Diego primarily. I would commute about 15 to 18 minutes from my zone up to the La Jolla marketplace. They had a ton of power strips, student population up there. It was very dense, shorter runs, usually predictable runs. That is the maximum, in my opinion, comment down below, maximum out commute to a zone. So to put that in perspective, 15 minutes, I could get into adjacent marketplaces. Look at the names here. I'm clicking in adjacent marketplaces. I could go maybe there, and maybe I would go there if I see on the promos tab that there's like $4 or $5 peak pay. It's crazy. And then my current zone is only $1 or $2. Let me repeat that. If your current zone, it has like $1 or $2, which is fine, by the way. It's $1 or $2. That's decent. But you can experiment if, you see adjacent marketplaces. Okay, I'm clicking on it again. Adjacent marketplaces. If it's like $3, $4, maybe $5 peak pay, then experiment. And I say experiment because I've done shifts where, again, I would commute up to La Jolla in San Diego because it had $5, I think even one time $6 peak pay. That's per delivery. It's very good. But statistically, did it make me more per hour? Not always, because what that might do, peak pay, let me show you the peak pay again in your promos tab. What that might do is draw more drivers up to that market segment. So this is why we're living here for a good part of the video. This is what you're really going to have to take note of the time of day, the day of the week, the market segment. Think to yourself the density, the power strips, and then the peak pay amount. $3, very strong, but once it gets $4, $5, maybe $6, then you really have to weigh a cost benefit. I've always said, I'd like you to sit around 85% max peak pay. Now, what that means is, let's say again, San Diego had $5, $6 peak pay. That was the max peak pay. It was crazy. It's really high per delivery, but I would drive. Okay. I would drive not at the $5 or $6 peak pay, but around $3.50, $4, $3, which is the 85% zone of that max peak pay. Because again, statistically, when I would go for that $5 or $6, it wouldn't always earn me more per hour. And that's our goal. That's my goal for you. Now it might, again, we're a team here, by the way. If you haven't subscribed, definitely consider subscribing, but you need to do that market research on your end because I don't know your marketplace. You might make more money on that high 100% max peak pay, but you might not. Also keep in mind, if you're looking through here, you've done your filters, okay? And you're looking at your peak pay and you'll say, dude, I only have $1 or I don't have much at all. Unfortunately, some marketplaces are like that. You will absolutely have that. So what we also teach here is multi-apping within the same niche. Our niche here is food delivery. So to multi-app is driving on different apps at the same time so you can select the best order. Now, I want you to get comfortable with one app first. Get comfortable with DoorDash, and then you can look at Uber Eats, you can look at Grubhub. So you can kind of pick and choose, which you're allowed to do, by the way, the best orders for you when you're out there on the road. Let me know what other questions you have about promos because promos are huge. And again, this is called peak pay. Now, DoorDash also has challenges. Those are batched bonuses. So if you do like X amount of deliveries, then you get a bonus after you complete that batch. So that's something else too. Again, that's called challenges. I never have really seen a ton of challenges. Comment down below, but in case you see that. So our next button here at the top next to promo, that's your safety tab. If there's any situation where you feel unsafe, you can see resources for you here. Now, let's talk about that briefly. I've done that, again, thousands and thousands, probably 10,000 plus trips and transactions on these gig apps. I would say with food delivery, the vast majority, if we're talking about safety, go completely without a hitch. Now, I've done ride-alongs where I sat next to my brother's driven for DoorDash. My friend Jess has driven for DoorDash. And, she had one instance where someone was asking for her phone number as like personally asking for her phone number. So I'll tell you, if you do enough runs, like a couple hundred, at least 1,000, then yes, you're probably going to have some scenario where it's like, well, it didn't go completely smoothly. But your safety is number one on the road. And there's measures you can take. Again, there's your safety tab. You can drive at certain times of the day. You can drive in certain areas of your marketplace as well. And by the way, you are allowed to have someone in the vehicle as well. Now, technically, I got to tell you this. Technically, they can't help with the actual work. You're the one that's activated on the app. I don't want you to get in trouble. Just kind of a formality there. I just got to tell you, but they can accompany you on shifts. Next, let's click that question mark in the top right. And this is our help page. So this is really good just to understand policies and actual breakdowns of things like deactivation policies. What do your ratings mean, which we're going to get into here shortly, and other policies. So you can check that out. And then moving down even further, you see that kind of circle target on the middle right. That just kind of brings you back to your current center of the screen there. So if you're checking out a different market for whatever reason, click that. Then it brings you back. Looking at the white box that has the market segment, right now it's saying downtown Pittsburgh. It says one promo. So this is good to know if any promos are coming up or are currently active. So right now you can see there's $3 peak pay until 3:29 a.m. So if there's underserved areas or times or segments of the marketplace, then again, that's typically when peak pay is involved as well. And or again, based on the metrics, that's when DoorDash knows it's typically busy. So now turning our attention to the bottom of the screen here, it says Dash in red. Again, that's just our main screen, our home screen that we went over together. Let's click on schedule. So here, like I mentioned, you can either dash now if the market segment is red, or you can schedule dashes. So this is good if you want to guarantee you have time to drive. So this is good if you're in a really competitive marketplace or in a market segment that's typically has a lot of drivers. A lot of drivers want to drive and either take advantage of peak pay or what have you. So here you'll see 6 days out of different available schedules. Let's say I wanted to drive on this day, okay, Tuesday the 13th. If I click this pencil icon, it says 12 until 5 a.m. If I click on that, here's an editor, and it says just choose a time when you want to drive. You don't have to drive just from these times, by the way. So I'm like, well, I don't want to drive at 12. If I want to start, let's say at 1 a.m., I'm doing overnights, 2 a.m., whatever, you can change that. Now, here's the thing. The selection they're giving us here is 12 until 5. So if I want to drive later, if I try to change this till 7, at the bottom of the screen here, look at the bottom, it's not letting me. If I'm moving it till 9 in the morning, it goes back to 5 because this is only the time that's available. If we go in settings, let me do that again for you. See that gear in the top right next to the question mark? It's the same thing as that filter. Let's click on that gear. Now, same kind of thing. This is a filter for areas that you want to drive. So remember, the filter on the home screen just shows us any it's a promo screen, shows us promos for different segments of your marketplace. This is the same thing as far as scheduling. So if I don't want to see, available hours again for Grove City, you can see me clicking on that there with that check mark. If I want to see available hours, obviously leave it on. If I don't, leave it off. So again, moving our attention down to the bottom of the screen here, let's click on the account button here. So at the top, we see 3 options: profile of vehicles and settings. Profile is obviously all your personal info, just your name, email address, phone number associated with the account. You can also put emergency contacts on there. Vehicles, just the vehicles you have registered with DoorDash. So if you have, let's say 2, you can choose and alternate between which vehicle you're using. Or obviously if you have 1, it's going to show up there. But settings, this is something that you should look at least because this has to deal with your navigation. So look at the mapping services here. It's in-app navigation with Google Maps. It's going to use Google Maps, but but obviously within the DoorDash interface. So if you like having just one screen, you don't want to have things toggling on your phone, then you can click that. Apple Maps is next. That's just a native, obviously iOS Maps if you have an iPhone. Google Maps, what we have currently checked here. Now that, when you click on navigate, when you do have an order, it's going to open physically Google Maps on your phone in its native app. It's not going to be on the DoorDash app. It's just a native Google Maps app. And we have Waze here if you would like Waze. Let's move on. Notifications, promotional push notifications. So if you have this on, it's going to send your phone, just that, push notifications. Like the banners that kind of drop down on your phone. What that's going to do is tell you if it's busy, usually during that immediate time. So it's going to say, hey, your area is really busy. And typically they'll send it if there's peak pay. It'll say there's $2 or $3 peak pay in your marketplace now. Go online to start earning, kind of thing. The next one, we did a video on this. You can click the card above or watch it after this training if you like. But cash on delivery, you're auto opted in, by the way. Again, you can opt out with no penalty to your account, but this is where the customer is going to pay in cash when making the delivery. Now, as the driver, again, watch the video on it if you want the full details, but you're expected to carry some change. Just, I believe it was $10 in 5s and 1s. So have like a 5 and 5 1s maybe. But you're going to deliver to the customer's location and they're expected to provide you with exact change. Usually, again, you should have some change. DoorDash says, I know a lot of drivers who don't want to deal with cash. And frankly, I said in that video, I don't think you're going to have a lot of customers that are going to pay in cash. So the customer is going to go under their payment options when placing an order. They will select cash if they like, but the way that a lot of customers, in my opinion, are used to these apps, they're used to cashless payments, using card, Apple Pay, what have you. But if you want to eliminate that completely, usually for safety reasons, you can just click that right there. Let's go to ratings. So at the bottom of the screen here, let's click on ratings and go over what this means here, starting from the top down. Customer rating, pretty self-explanatory. If you didn't know, by the way, yes, your customer rates you after the delivery. So keep that in mind. Now, this screen is important because you can be deactivated, which means you'll lose access to the Dasher platform for some of these metrics here. So pay attention to this. So right now we have a 4.88 customer rating. It is based on a rolling average of your last 100 deliveries. Now, if you're brand new, it's going to take a little bit. I believe about 20 deliveries before some of these metrics show up. DoorDash gives you kind of a grace period before they start showing you some of these analytics. But right now, a 4.88, if we click on that, we see a deeper breakdown of what these metrics mean for our profile. Now note here, this 4.88, the deactivation threshold is 4.2. Again, you're going to have a buffer, at least 20 deliveries. I don't feel like most drivers are going to have to worry about a 4.2. I would say if you are getting pretty low, there is something that you're doing wrong, frankly. And again, we have the course, Mastering Delivery. It has customer service notes in there. It has an entire word script, by the way, with, frankly, customers that may be more upset, objections, and exactly what to say when customers are kind of doubting your service level there. So again, check that out if you'd like. It's an hour-long course, risk-free for 30 days. yourdrivermike.com/delivery. Note here on these ratings. So on this profile, 31 5 stars, but there's one 1 star. And let me be frank with you. I mean, my background's in customer service. I don't want you to sweat the 1 stars. You're going to have 1 stars. You're going to have 2 stars. The customers may leave notes. And actually, we can scroll down here. If there's any customer feedback right here, you see these thumbs up, thumbs down. You'll see maybe a thumbs down or two. And again, let's go back up to that 1 star. If you see that, I wouldn't sweat it. Because again, after you keep doing deliveries, the last delivery is going to roll off because the last 100 deliveries. Now, there are ratings protections. If you're rated like a 1 for something completely out of your control, weather took you forever to get there, wait times at the restaurant, that's a big thing. You're going to have that, wait times at restaurants. If you're rated because of that and the customer indicates that's why they're rating you a 1, DoorDash is not going to count it. Because DoorDash knows a wait time at the restaurant has nothing to do with your service level. Now you can see at the top here, it says Dasher needs a 4.7 or above to be considered a top Dasher. Now at the time of filming this video, a top Dasher really only gets one benefit, and that's the ability to dash at any time. Actually, I'll show you right now. So remember that home screen on our Dasher menu here. If I click on this, remember I can't go online unless it's red. Otherwise, you can see here it says schedule. If you're a top Dasher, you can still go online. You can go online in any of these marketplaces. Doesn't matter, it's gray. You can go online if you're a top Dasher. Let's go back to ratings though. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, I don't think that's worth it. Because what does gray indicate on this home screen? Gray indicates that it's not busy, because first it'll turn red, and then we have the three tiers that I showed you: busy, a little busier, and then it says very busy. This is the very bottom tier. It's gray. It's not even busy. So to have top Dasher, and again, you'll see that at the top of the screen here, 4.7 or higher. Yes, you can go online at any time, but in my opinion, it's not worth it. But that's something else you might want to experiment with for your market. Nextly, let's look at the acceptance rate here. Now it's 13%. So we would only accept 13% of orders on this profile. And what if it's 2%? What if it's 1%? What if it's like 50%? Now, I need you to understand you're an independent contractor. This is 1099 work. And actually, having said that, taxes are not withheld from really any gig app in this gig economy, the side hustle economy. Talk to your CPA, tax professional, but you do want to set aside some of these earnings for taxes come tax time. As an independent contractor, you have the freedom to ignore and decline any order request that doesn't make sense for you. Now, this is different than cancellations. So let's move down to completion rate. Acceptance rate, it's just that, the percent of orders that I'm actually accepting here. Completion rate is a percent of orders that I've accepted and then I actually finish and make that delivery. So we can see here this completion rate of 95%. So what can happen here is maybe something came up like an emergency. Maybe there's excessive wait time at the restaurant. So this is affected by orders that you've accepted. So I send you an order request, I'm looking it over, it looks good, I want to take it, I click accept. I've already accepted it, but then I cancel. If I get to that restaurant, they say, we're backed up, we just got that order, or they don't even have it. And then they have to, call DoorDash. It's a big delay, right? You don't want to be waiting there for 15, 20, 25 plus minutes. It is eating into your earnings. You're not earning any money. You're already on an assignment. And then you should make that decision of, should I cancel? And you are allowed to cancel within reason. So this completion rate at the time of filming this video needs to be at least 80%. So keep that in mind. You have that in your pocket of, again, if something comes up, emergency, you get a flat tire, excessively long wait times, you can cancel those orders. And just keep an eye on this, keep that in completion rate above 80%. On time or early percent, so this is something that's a little bit newer that we have to pay attention to. So DoorDash is considering both real-time analytics with Google Maps, traffic, weather, but delays in the restaurant don't go against you. So what this is measuring is the percent of times that you complete the order within the estimated time or 5 minutes after. They give you a window. Now, this is different than something that can get you deactivated, which is called extreme lateness. So extreme lateness is what's called a contract violation. If you get too many contract violations, you can be deactivated for that. So right now, again, you can be deactivated for ratings of 4.2 or lower. You can be deactivated for too low of a completion rate. It's got to be around 80%. And you can be deactivated for too many contract violations. The on-time or early percentage is not considered as a deactivation metric. Again, the on-time or early is not considered a metric for deactivation, but extreme lateness contract violations are. Hope that helps. All right, nextly, let's go down to the bottom right. Let's click on earnings here. So here's another screen that you're really going to look at a lot, your earnings screen, obviously. So at the top, we can see any weekly earnings, your balance, your active time versus dash time. This is really good to know to understand how much time you're really spending on the Dasher platform. So active time is when you're actually on an assignment. So we get a ping, an order request, whatever you want to call it. Then you're on an assignment. So that is active time. But if I'm online and I'm sitting, which is what you should do, is park, sit, and wait for an order. I'm online, right? But I don't have an assignment. That's a dash time. So I'm waiting. Again, I'm online, but I don't have an assignment. That is your dash time. Scrolling down here, we have our past week's earnings. Now, this is good just for a visualization of your earnings. Now, I will tell you, when it comes to your earnings, you should be tracking your numbers, at least your miles, because you can actually take a tax deduction against those business miles, because that's an expense of your business as an independent contractor. Now, I'm not a CPA or tax professional. This is not legal or professional tax advice, of course. Now, the IRS here in the US offers you an optional standard mileage deduction, which encompasses general operating expenses of a vehicle. And then there's also an option to itemize your exact expenses. It's an itemized deduction. Now, you can't take both. You can't do an itemized and you can't do also the standard mileage deduction. Talk to your CPA or tax professional about which one's best for you. But itemized, you have to keep all the receipts. You have to actually calculate, okay, how many miles did I drive, the gas expenditures, keeping all those receipts. Or with the standard mileage deduction, you're going to record your business miles. So business miles, when I'm online, I'm intending to do business. If you're not online with an app, you're clearly not intending to do business with that app. So record those miles. I just zero out my trip odometer. We actually have a free resource on yourdrivermike.com, Excel sheets, Mac OS number sheet to document your miles and expenses, etc. Now, going back to our earnings here, let's just click on this 1 week here. Here's a breakdown just so you can see your actual earnings. This is what you're going to see. There's actually some important things. I'm going to give you another kind of strategy here when you're actually looking at these numbers. So for this week's driving, $46.88. We have a breakdown of DoorDash Pay, $23.25, and customer tip, $23, almost exact here, 63 cents. Now, I want you to have really kind of like this, a one-to-one contribution of customer tips. If you're not getting enough customer tips, just make sure, at the time of filming this video, 2022, 2023, most all deliveries in the food delivery space are contactless. So you're not even going to interact with the customer. So you can't even have any customer service FaceTime. So when it comes to tips, I would just focus on things like delays, communication. If there's delays, I would say at least 15 minutes at the restaurant. Now, we can talk about this as well. If there's a delay at the restaurant, 10 minutes is kind of the max you want to wait. If there's a delay of about 15 minutes, that is really the gray zone where you might want to cancel. So moving down here is what we talked about with that active versus dash time. So you can see for the entire week, okay, what's my breakdown of on an assignment versus just waiting for an assignment. So I could use this insofar as I don't want a ton of dash time without active time. I want that to be pretty close. Otherwise, I might be waiting too much. Now, what you can do, again, you can multi-app. So you can pause a dash. You can do that for 35 minutes. So if I've gotten to the point where I'm comfortable with different apps and I want to multi-app, again, I can pause my dash on DoorDash for up to 35 minutes and I can take an Uber Eats run, and you're allowed to do this. Just don't take both runs on different apps, okay? That can lead to deactivation for a number of reasons. Extreme lateness being one of them, because you got to go pick up from the Uber Eats one, so don't do that. When we talk about multi-apping, it's just selecting the best order for you, not driving on both sequentially and taking one and the other. Now, DoorDash actually gives you even more metrics to go even deeper, because remember, this is just 1 week here. We actually have the exact days here and the dashes. So if I click on this first one, Sunday, July 24th, $10, I can exactly see, okay, what was this day like? I hope that walkthrough helped you out and just helped you understand a bit about the Dasher app. Now, your next step is getting on the road and actually selecting orders. So I'm going to link a video right here on how to actually select the best orders as a DoorDash Dasher. But again, if you got value in this video, drop a like. It does help out the video and the channel. I would love to have you a part of the team here. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.